Okay, moving on to item 5, PLN 2018-167, preliminary review Eden Housing. Sonia, can we have the staff report on this item?
Yes, this is an informational item before you today. The staff report is very brief. The intention was just to get this site plan in front of you for discussion. This is Eden Housing's proposal for a 78-unit affordable housing project. It would be 2 buildings of 3 stories each. The general plan designation is residential low density, which would allows the density of 18 to 22 units, which here, based on the proposed site plan, it would go from about 112 to 137 units. The zoning is RSD 20, which is suburban residential, requiring 2,000 square feet per dwelling unit. And here, under the proposed site, the maximum would be 135 units. So they're proposing for 78 affordable housing units. And again, this is informational item for your discussion.
Our current proposal, as the staff report mentioned, is 78 units for low-income families. We've also received a funding award to have 25 of those units set aside for veterans. The amenities currently include a community building, offices for resident services, and extension of the San Lorenzo Creek Trail. And our architects are here who are going to go into the design in more detail after I'm done with my spiel. But this is generally a chart of who will be serving income-wise and what their rents will look like. But generally, it's between 30%, which is considered very low income, up to 60%. And we're also looking into using a rule that would allow us to go up to 80% AMI, which would be considered workforce housing, or families that earn about $100,000 a year.
Met with Eden and saw this. I thought it was something the council would want to see right away, plus the whole veterans connection to it. I'm curious about, is that something that's subject to change as you're going through the process, or is that something that's like etched in stone, the 25 veterans units?
So we've applied for the vouchers. They've been generally set aside for us. If we get delayed for any reason, like if we don't secure entitlements, if we're not able to secure our other funding, it is a federal funding source, so that could go away at any moment, we feel like. But if we were to start to break ground within the timeline that I suggested, then the vouchers would be secured.
Okay.
So it's all, it's always a caveat around funding,
Right.
but they're as secured as we can say that they are.
So that's part of your funding source then, is these
Yes.
25 okay, veterans
Correct,
units.
yeah.
And then what's the income ratio for the veterans?
So those would be set aside they'd be offered to anyone at 50% AMI or less. So
Okay.
that would be around, I didn't set it aside, but that's around the $50,000 a year for a 2-person household, for example.
That's low to like very low essential range?
Yeah, and they could be even lower income, and because it's a voucher, we're subsidizing the rent no matter what their income level is.
Okay.
But they just couldn't be higher than 50% AMI. Yeah. And just to sit, those vouchers come with obligation to have a VA caseworker, have an office in the building. So we would have an office for them if those vouchers were secured.
One question, how many employees do you generally have in a place like that?
We would have one full-time property manager who would live on site, and then we would have 1 to 2 maintenance technicians who would live on site if the property manager didn't live on site, but generally serve the property. And then we would also have a resident services coordinator who would work there about once a week.
How are the veteran services administered?
And that would be another case manager who would also work at the site. So that's 4 to 6 staff people there at any given moment.
The veterans person, are they there full time, once a week? What's the?
If we have, it sort of depends on the number of vouchers that we wind up securing. If we have 25, then we have I believe it's either full time or 2.5 or half time. I can get back to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somewhere between half time and full time.
Yes.
It sounds like. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's a great idea. Underutilized property, and it's fulfilling a local need. As I think Mark's implying, this would relieve the vet housing issue that Supervisor Miley's been talking about as reasoning for our next item. So I think that's great. I think it's a great segue. I think it's a great idea.